What's up everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in to Streetcar Shenanigans YouTube channel. And I just have something to say before we move forward. YouTube analytics is a pretty amazing thing, and I know that 87% of you that are watching this right now are not subscribers. Only 15% of our viewership that watches our 500 views per video-ish roughly at right now are subscribers. So make sure that if you're watching this video and you enjoy it, that you hit subscribe or save yourself the trouble and just get it out of the way and do it now. In this episode, we are bringing you up to date on the Lightning project. This will be the last episode that you see before you see us firing it off. And unfortunately, due to some hard drive failure, we lost some of the footage of actually putting the fuel system and wiring the Holley HP in it. But that's what this episode is all about, just catching you guys up to speed on this. And then this weekend, we are also going to be bringing you the Cobra project. So stay tuned, hit subscribe, and thank you guys for joining us on another episode on the channel. Alright, so I know in the last update we had a lighting issue, and we're working on the best solution for that. Right now I have a temporary solution to that problem, and I adjusted the camera settings. So comment down below if this video is a little bit better and brighter than the last one. Let me run you down. Let's do the fuel system first. So we've had a couple questions on how are we going to fuel it. Now, in its current state, this thing really doesn't need a whole ton of fuel, but we are setting it up for the upcoming upgrades that are coming in the future, which is going to revolve around a D1 or an F1 blower. So we went ahead and ordered Matt Hill Motorsports. So it's got a sump rear fuel tank in it. It's got dash 10 fed PTFE lines. Now the owner doesn't plan on running E85, but we might change his mind on that in the future. We will see. Which we are running to a Weldon inlet and outlet and a Weldon 1100A fuel pump. So this should support plenty of horsepower that we want to in the future. Now this is a return style fuel system, so there's also a dash 8 line right there that is running into the top of the tank, and it's actually like touching the bed, so we have to adjust that. But anyway, so that's what's up there. And then we ran the fuel lines down along with all the stock stuff. So they ran in here. And we just ran them where they felt like they wanted to be. Then the feed goes to a 4A Y block. And then we actually use the stock hanger there. There's some of the extra wiring that we gotta clean up. But anyway, the fuel lines go up, doesn't touch anything, and goes to the back of the fuel rails. We did end up having to plug the O2 sensor because you're not gonna be able to fit an O2 sensor there. So if we ever switch to a dual wideband setup, we would definitely have to be putting another bung on top of the header. I showed you guys in the last video how close the trans lines are. We now have some heat shrink on it and got a little bit of clearance there. In the future, when we do a trans build, we'll probably be relocating these trans lines completely and run them maybe along the frame rail down here, or something different, because those are right there. So we'll try to relocate those. This should be okay for now. You can see the fans. We don't have a belt quite yet. That's just mocked up, but we're gonna just be running a short belt with the factory accessories. I'll show you guys more of that from the top. Some loomed harness for the starter wiring that we did. Otherwise, that pretty much sums up everything that we've done on the bottom. Now, Brian, the owner, wanted us to show you guys. It's a pretty serious tire. He says they don't look big in the videos, but it's a 315/50. I mean, she's a big girl. But the fuel line ran perfectly. Really just looks like it's supposed to fit. And most importantly, when the car is on the ground, if you're looking at it like a level, like right there, I mean, you really don't even see it unless you lay underneath the truck and look. So it's real sleeper look. For all you Lightning fans, you know that there's normally another tank here that has been eliminated. And that's actually where we're going to run the exhaust now. So we ordered 3-inch exhaust. It's going to be custom made to some Borla Pro XS's, just like we ran on the 94 project. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link here, because that thing sounds awesome, and that's kind of the sound that Brian likes too. So we're going to run that, and we're just going to dump it at the axle. It'll be a very similar exhaust setup. Overall, I'm very happy with how it looks underneath. The only thing left underneath is obviously the exhaust, and I have to run a 10-gauge power wire for the fuel pump up to the fuel pump relay, which we're going to put in the passenger side kick panel. Otherwise, that's pretty much everything that's going to be done. It's like 90% complete. Matt's coming up. Matt from Wisconsin Race Cars is coming back up again, and we're gonna hash out this exhaust. So you guys will see that in the next video, where you'll probably also see it running. I'm gonna put the truck down on the ground, and I'll show you guys an update underneath the hood. All right, now let's show you guys the heart and soul of what we put into this thing. Now it's not 100% complete, but once again, I'm gonna side with like 90% complete. Man, my forehead is like super shiny, look at that. Anyway, so once again, we put a Holley HP in this with a quick 4 trans controller, and we pulled the entire factory wiring harness out. We had the fuse box out of it, we had all the wiring, all this was pulled out of it. There was no wiring in the engine bay during the project, and we completely removed everything that was no longer needed. So the entire engine harness has been removed, and really the only thing that's still part of it is the stuff to run the cruise control, which isn't plugged in. The hood light, which has to be hung up, windshield wipers, and then everything else was pretty much eliminated. We even took off the AC, because the AC is going to be coming off anyway, so Brian opted to just take it off now. And I mean, the engine bay is starting to look super, super slick. This alternator is going to be changed. We would have went through the hassle of painting it and making it nice, but we're going to switch to a 3G alternator once we get the Pro Charger set up on here. So we just left it for now. So starting at the intake, we went with the AccuFab 85mm throttle body. The reason why I went with the 85 is just because it has the IAC provision. We did actually switch to a fast style, GM style IAC valve just because it was easier and actually a little bit cheaper to get this set up. I just had to change the plug on the Holley to a 4-pin connector like a GM style does. AccuFab sells you that. It's got a factory TPS sensor that we adapted to work with the Holley, which is using a weather pack. As you can see, we kind of jammed all the ugly of the harness into this back corner. So we have the map sensor. This is a naturally aspirated one. The boosted one is actually black, so it'll look even better when that's done. But we also ran all of the Holley and trans harness together through this plate. Now this is factory, this plate that goes here. So we cut it and we just put a grommet on there so it doesn't cut into it. But that actually turned out pretty nice. And then once the intake's on here, you really won't see any of that stuff in the back anyhow. So that'll turn out really good. Then obviously we have the box art intake manifold. Now you can see a little bit better than the last video the clearance that we made back in here when we rounded the fender, or the clearance that we made back here when we rounded the firewall around it. I mean, we probably got about a ½ inch all the way around. It fits really, really nice. All we really have left in the engine bay is vacuum lines. I want to tie up these spark plug wires. This is temporary, but I do something similar to this, and it looks really nice. But we have everything really symmetrical if you look at the spark plug wiring closely. I also really like how we were able to tuck up all the injector wiring into the back, because you can't really see it now on the sides. Obviously, if you look down the middle, you can see all the wires are tucked back in there. But actually watching Devin, who's like the Holley master, he uses a completely unterminated harness and makes everything. So I think on the notch we'll probably do that, because then we can do our own kind of loom all the way to the end of the ejector, which will look just a little bit nicer. But once again, once you do something like that, you're really just upgrading the cost and the time and the material that's required. So this is already a huge project. This is like a kind of a bolt-on application, although it's not really a bolt-on application from Mad Hill Motorsports. That was the route that we went with this. But if we do more Holley stuff in the future, we'll definitely be following Devin's advice and how he does his stuff. If you haven't seen Devin's Holley work, I'm gonna put a link to his channel in the description down below. I'm not sure if we can put one up in here yet, but I'll put a description in the channel down below so you can go and check out his work. But it's beautiful. He does a fantastic wiring job, and he uses pretty much all Holley stuff. But anyway, so that's it. We have the spark plug wires ran, the fire core wires. We got some heat boots, the Cook's long tubes, the box art intake manifold. This is the plate that we got machined down in half. I do have to still set up the distributor on the Holley, but that's going to set right around there. And she's pretty much pretty much done. Matt's gonna come up, we're gonna make an aluminum intake, and we're just gonna put a big K&N filter right here. So it'll turn into there. Then eventually we'll be putting like a big F1 Renegade bracket on it for the blower. We ran a full return style fuel system, meaning that we did not deadhead the rails or nothing. It is all ran. We actually are feeding the fronts, and then in the rear we have 90s coming off the back of the fuel rails down, you can see right there, and they're coming up into the 4A regulator, which is right here, that has fuel pressure gauge. We do not have vacuum ran to it yet because we have not done the vacuum lines. But that is the bracket that Matt Hill Motorsports sells. We reloomed all the factory harness over here. I mean, it's been a hell of a project. I mean, this truck has been here for like 6 months, probably like 5 months, but it's been a long time. I think we got it like the end of November or mid-December. But it's a beautiful truck, and we're super happy to be part of the project, and it's not quite done yet. The next thing I want to show you guys is some of the location of the components that we did in the cabin on this. So let me climb up into the truck, show you guys what we did in there, and I'm gonna see if I can bring some light with me because I know we have some light issues. All right, guys, it's a little bit darker in here. Now my voice probably sounds like an echo also. The interior is not 100% complete, but I do want to show you a couple of the trick things that we did. The majority of the wiring is done. Once again, I'm gonna fall back on like 90% because the whole truck's like 90% done. We are running a Holley HP Standalone, if you haven't seen that already, with a quick 4 trans controller. And we decided to mount it in the glove box. So there's the quick 4, that's all wired in, that's 100% complete. Then the Holley HP just has to run a fuel pump relay, and that's the trigger for the fuel pump relay. We're gonna run that over there, and we just gotta run a power wire to the relay itself, to the fuel pump itself. But that is obviously the processor. We cut the bottom of the glove box out in sections where the plugs can come right through. And in this Lightning, the whole glove box comes out really easily. However, all the wiring is really, really tight behind it. So we didn't want it to be something that has to be opened and closed constantly when you're going to tune on it. You want to adjust the transmission. And now we turn the quick 4, so if the driver of the truck is racing it or wants to change the functions of the transmission, you can actually see this really well from the driver's seat. Just pop it open. You could change your function. You could turn overdrive on and off, which actually we wired the button to work, so you really don't even need to do that with this, but it's there. So what we did to avoid opening and closing this all the time, we put a USB plug in the cigarette lighter. So one side goes to the Holley and one side goes to the quick 4. We're gonna mark that once we're all done. They're not quite plugged in yet all the way, so once that's hooked up, then all you have to do is open this ashtray door, plug into what side you want to tune, and you can go on your merry way. So pretty trick. Nice, easy, no problems. Radio, everything that's in here that's factory works as factory. All the gauges are working as factory. Doors, locks, windows, lights, everything works as factory. So we did not compromise the utility of the truck. The only thing that we have left is we have to tap into the TAC, which is going to require an adapter now that we're running the TAC signal from the MSD box that's underneath the hood. Alright, so thank you guys so much for tuning into the update episode on the Lightning. I hope you guys have enjoyed this build, and we're gonna do a couple more videos obviously on it. First initial startup, you guys will see that. The exhaust getting wrapped up, everything, all the fabrication's gotta get done on it. You guys will be the first to see that. And then once it starts and runs and drives, we still have to tune it. That'll be an episode. And then we're gonna do like a kind of final wrap up, and we're actually gonna include Brian in that video so he can give his thoughts and reactions to not only the work that we did and working with us, but what he thinks about the truck as it sits. I know he has much higher hopes in the future for it, so this is kind of like a soft milestone in his future goals, but it's still gonna be a pretty wicked truck. It's gonna sound great. It looks fantastic. It's just not gonna make the 800 horsepower that he wants it to make quite yet. If you've stayed tuned this long, you'd better subscribe down below. Once again, I know that most of you watching this are not subscribers already, so please subscribe down below. Check out other videos on the channel. We have a lot of projects going on. For example, that one right there is a 1,000 horsepower Cobra that has been automatic swapped. We did a whole rear suspension in it. We're getting that thing up on the lift tomorrow to get you guys some footage on that. And hopefully both of these vehicles are running within the next week. Also, we're gonna change a couple things on the channel. One main thing is that we're just going to consistently upload 1 day a week. Now, we don't know what day that is, but the way, as fast as we're generating content, is 1 video a week. So instead of releasing 3 that are like only a couple days apart right away like I typically do, I'm gonna switch over 1 episode a week. So you guys comment down below what day's best, when should we be posting, and we want to show you guys what you wanna see. And with the weather getting nice, there's definitely gonna be turn up in the content section. So we got the red Cobra coming this weekend, that's running. We gotta finish up some stuff on it, you guys will see that soon. We got the white Cobra, that's gotta get wrapped up. Obviously the Lightning's getting wrapped up. But to close out this video, I wanna show you guys Greg Z's turbocharged TA. He came a couple days ago to visit the shop when it was nice outside, and he striped up our parking lot pretty good. So take a look at that. Thank you guys for watching, subscribe down below, and we'll see you in the next one.